The essence of performing arts doesn't lie in simply copying or reproducing reality, but expressing more than reality by representing what is not in the actual world. Therefore, actors must make full use of the art of transformation. The transformation of actor changes the world on the stage into a world of a different dimension and reveals a new virtual space. Japanese kabuki's actor playing a female role is probably one of the most typical transformations. An actor becomes a woman by makeup and dress-up. This woman is a woman created by art and pattern. The woman's beauty created by this art expresses the reality that cannot be expressed by mere realism. Kabuki's female role looks more like a woman than an actual woman because he abstracts the typical woman and expresses it as pattern. Male actor in Japanese no also express the beauty of woman, such as sadness, jealousy, and resentment, by wearing a mask and playing the pattern. Besides, in Shakespeare plays in Europe, boy actors play the role of women. Also in Greek tragedies, all women's roles are played by men, and the same thing is true of China's Beijing opera, too. From these cases, male actors' disguise of female is supposed to have been the standard for classical dramas. Actors transform into other persons or spirits by dress-up and make-up. Therefore, at this moment, the actors must abandon their self-consciousness. Therefore, actors are said to be necessary to forget themselves and to become the role itself. The life of performing arts are uplifted when actors change from one figure to another, or, in other words, when they transform. The reality is in the film between fact and the virtual. In that sense, modern naturalistic and realistic drama has lost such an essence of drama. Therefore, acting a role is not an expression of the actor's inside, but rather a phenomenon that the spirit of the role possesses him from the outside. In that meaning, prehistoric shamans were the first actors in human history. The shaman was possessed by God, soul of animal and spirit, and practically transformed himself into such a different kind of thing and danced. Such a kind of magic survives in the skills of today's actors. Transformation also has a festive origin. Gender disguise is also thought to have a festive origin. In the orgy of festival, there was a racket where men are disguised in women's clothes and women in men's. By such a reversal of order, people tried to bring out primitive chaos. A new order regenerates from this primitive chaos. That was just the function of festival. If performing arts mean the creation of a different dimension space by the transformation of actors, the role of masks often used there cannot be ignored. Masks played their important roles in Greek tragedy that originated in the festival of Dionysus. No in Japan also developed its own unique masks to the high degree. No mask is the core of No. By wearing a mask, the performer can become a god, a ghost, an old man, a brave warrior, or a graceful woman. The human emotional expression by actor is blocked by no mask, and on the contrary, no mask and acting crystallize the higher degree emotion on them. Wearing a mask means transforming itself. Even if he is the same person, he can become another person by changing the mask. The mask is a tool to get out of self, and the person who wears it is no longer himself. By wearing a mask, the actor becomes one with it and becomes it itself completely. Rather, the mask wearer should be said to be possessed by the god, the ghost, or the spirit the mask represents. Mask has an immeasurable magical power. In agricultural societies, dances with masks are often performed during festivals, and the masks often represent the spirits of dead ancestors. By wearing masks, the villagers became their ancestors themselves and encouraged the lives of the alive people. The villagers interacted with ancestral spirits from the other worlds and prayed for the rich harvest of the year. Equally in Europe, there were held often festivals where people danced with wearing masks and fancy costumes all night long at St. Nicholas Day, the winter solstice, New Year's Eve, Carnival, and so on. These events look like competitions of mask or disguise. These were originally Celtic or Germanic rituals, which, along with the introduction of Christianity, have been absorbed into the Christian calendar. In particular, the carnival held in winter in Europe corresponds to playing in the field during the Japanese New Year days of lunar calendar. This is a celebration praying for a good harvest for the year before the coming spring. Therefore, in the carnival, the winter god is driven away and the spring god's coming is celebrated. The winter god is performed by a villager with a scary mask and is exiled by the spring god with a bright mask. It was the festival in order to pray for good harvest and fertility by driving evil spirits away and welcoming good spirits that bring blessings to people. In these festivals, the masks of winter gods and spring gods, good spirits and evil spirits, and gods and devils, play big roles. By wearing these masks, people transformed themselves into good or evil spirits and created a festive space to celebrate the coming of spring. The space created by theatre is a virtual space and a fictional world if seen from the viewpoint of daily actual life. However, people cannot live without such a virtual space and a fictional world. Human beings are animals that cannot live without illusions. Speaking further, it is the essence of art that such an illusion and fiction are more real than reality. The unreal represents the real. For example, in Japanese Kabuki's dramas dealing with love-suicide, such as Sonozaki Shinju, a couple of man and woman who love each other, fallen in desperate state from human relationships in this world and decide their lover's suicide. Then, the scene becomes the scene of lover's journey. In this scene the couple appear in their best clothes to the next world and set out on journey to the next world along with beautiful lyrical narration and music. Great classic artworks have their great functions to purify our hearts because they connotate a bigger world than themselves. In general, tragedy reveals the dark side of human beings and rescues them into the larger world beyond it. The requiem of the suffering soul is tragedy in which catharsis exists. Catharsis is the revival by death and the return to the universal life. The purification of emotion comes from it. Catharsis must be transmigration into eternal life and revival. Otherwise, life is too miserable. The moment people notice the eternal world for them to return, there is his salvation. Classic artworks have always their fresh meanings because they have the effect of catharsis linked to this human nature. Tragedy is a metaphor of life. Audience rediscover themselves in the tragic events performed on the stage and learn the universal meaning and truth of life. At that time, the audience feels saved. Without salvation, art dies.